So we have a controversial topic of discussion for today. Should you run the manufacturer's recommended oil in your vehicle, uh, or should you do a little more and run full synthetic? This is very controversial because a lot of people feel like you should just run what the manufacturer recommends and trust what they recommend, because at the end of the day, if it's a new vehicle, they are responsible for the warranty and they will take care of things for you. But here you have a 3.5 liter V6 engine that produces 375 horsepower and 470 foot-pounds of torque, which is a significant amount of torque for the amount of displacement that this engine has. And it's twin turbocharged, and the turbos are really close to the exhaust manifolds, closer than normal. Older design turbo engines had the turbos usually further away from the exhaust. On the EcoBoost, the turbos are right there, right next to the engine, right off the exhaust. So as you can imagine, they probably get pretty hot. They are water cooled, but they are also oil cooled. So all your oil goes through these turbos, which are red hot. And you know, how good is a conventional oil going to protect the engine when they're exposed to that kind of heat? When the oil is exposed to that kind of heat, is the conventional oil particularly rated for that kind of heat? Well, I think you have to kind of look at what reason would the manufacturer recommend an oil for a vehicle, and do they have your best interest in mind when they're recommending that oil? That's a very controversial question in itself, because when I think about it, you know, I'm thinking about the overall goal for the manufacturer, which is to sell a vehicle. And if they're selling a vehicle that requires more expensive maintenance, more expensive fuel, things like that, it makes it harder to sell that vehicle and makes potentially less sales when you drive an F-150 and you go to the dealership and the manufacturer has required full synthetic oil and required more expensive oil changes. Then that could potentially hurt sales. Or maybe there's other forces at work. For example, their entire dealership network that has service centers that buy, you know, conventional oil in bulk. You know, they're buying this conventional oil in bulk and they have to service these vehicles. You know, does that play any part of it, where they're saying we want vehicles that require synthetic blend, that way we can run all the same oil? You know, I don't know, but to me it seems like there's other interests involved from the manufacturer that would recommend a certain type of oil. For example, in the case of the 5.0 Coyote V8 available in the F-150, they require a 0W20 oil, which is pretty thin for a truck, and it really makes you wonder what is different about the 5.0 that makes it compatible with such a thin oil. Did they really do anything different inside of the motor, or are they just trying to meet overall vehicle fleet MPG ratings? You know, because the 5.0 is very efficient. It's a very efficient engine, and it's pretty close. You know, some people claim that it's better MPG than the EcoBoost. That's definitely debatable, but it's really efficient. But overall, is that engine oil in the best interest of the consumer, or are they just trying to meet some kind of government mandated oil, or some kind of government mandated MPG rating, and that's just a quick, easy way to do it? I don't know. It seems to me that could be the case. You know, what changed in the motor to make it compatible with such a thin oil? Or did they, I mean, if you look at the specification for the 5.0, there are, I believe they're recommending a full synthetic 0W20, which is kind of says that a synthetic blend wouldn't even be good enough because the oil's so thin. I mean, a full synthetic oil in the form of 0W20 should provide enough protection, but at the same time, it will provide the MPG ratings. And I don't even think necessarily that's a bad thing. I don't know if that's the reason why they have so many oil consumption issues with the 5.0, but a 0W20 oil, I guess, is okay for if it's in the form of a full synthetic, because full synthetics can usually go a little thinner than synthetic blends, but it's interesting that the 5.0 doesn't allow a synthetic blend. It's in the manual for it to have a full synthetic 0W20. It's probably okay. I don't know why the 5.0s burn oil, but I would think that the 3.5 EcoBoost and the 2.7 EcoBoost, because they're turbocharged, should be at a full synthetic oil. And it makes you ask the question, what about the 3.5 or the 2.7 make it, make this engine more compatible with a synthetic blend oil compared to the other turbocharged engines on the market? Not from maybe Chevy or Chrysler, which those two companies would be in the same boat, but some of the higher end companies that require full synthetic for their high performance engines. Why would this not be considered a high performance engine? Because it's a Ford means that you can just put synthetic blend. I don't know. I think you can put synthetic blend in it and it will last a good while, but if you know anything about these engines, they do have some weird issues, timing chain issues. They have oil leak issues with the rear main seals. I've been in the dealership and seen these vehicles just get out of warranty and start leaking oil out the rear main seals. So, Ford might only be concerned about the vehicle while it's under their watch, under their warranty. They're not really concerned about a vehicle lasting 100, 150, 1,000 miles. And just because it gets a few leaks up at 100 or whatever 1,000 miles, that doesn't mean that it's really even a bad thing for Ford. I mean, as long as it's running right. But for me, I like to do whatever I can to prevent any timing chain issues, or oil leak issues. And I think full synthetic, and a good full synthetic at that, a full synthetic that is rated for high heat, considering the oil in the EcoBoost is subjected to a whole lot of heat. So that's just my 2 cents. I know it's controversial. Should you ever stray from manufacturers' recommendations? Just my little 2 cents. If I had a 5.0, I would probably consider using a 5W30 oil. I don't think that's gonna hurt anything, but and that's just because if I were going to be in a 5.0 for a long time, I would try to use a 5W30, just because what really is different with that engine, if anything, and did they just kind of do that to save MPG? But that's just my opinion. Put your opinion in the comment section. I love reading the comments. Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.